What is good, everybody? Man, it's your boy Jay in the building. We is back again with another one. All right, man, we got week 6 of HBCU football on the way, man. So we already know what we do here, man. So we're going to go through some previews and some predictions of some of these HBCU games, man. So we're going to get right into it because there's a lot to unpack here. First game and the biggest game, I think, of the week. Jackson State versus Alabama State. Now, before we even get to the actual game, there's a lot to unpack even surrounding this game. Now, before we even get to that, I'm just gonna pop up 2 pictures that's just gonna put things in perspective on what we could possibly see after the game, just in case this game ends up in a blowout, or if anything, or if these kids say anything crazy. All right, so this first picture is a picture of of what they shown after Alabama State gave Coach Prime his first loss as a coach for Jackson. And look, I'm pretty sure they had that picture. They had that picture ready, like that was pre-planned. So, cause they put that up right after the picture. And of course, we're gonna react to that game because I wasn't doing reaction videos around that time. All right, so so that picture, right? All right, so we got that. Second picture is Coach Prime taking the high road. You know what I'm saying? Look, he's like, okay. Now, last year it didn't do any justice, right? Because I know, they only beat him by 21, so it was, I think they beat him by 28, so it was a respectable loss to Alabama State. Or a respectable win, I should say. Now, this time is different because not only is Coach Prime going back to Alabama State this time around to avenge his first loss in Alabama State, but it's during their homecoming. And we are, and it's kind of disrespectful for the top team in the conference to be the away team at somebody's homecoming. It's disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? And with a sold-out crowd, with 4 or 5-star recruits in attendance. And not only that, there's 4 and 5-star recruits that are already committed, that had already verbally committed to some Power 5 schools. So it's going to be something to see. It's going to be crazy. Also, the possible return of Travis Hunter, the possible return of Shiloh, the return of Malachi, Antonio Doley. We don't know about him just yet, but there's a lot. Now, if this defense is at least 80 to 90% healthy, like if they get a full healthy Travis Hunter, a full healthy Shiloh Sanders just in the secondary alone, along with Demetrius Davis that's been struggling lately, it could be a long night for Alabama State. But let's get right on to the game. And let's start with Alabama. Let's start with Jackson State first, actually. Now, you know what happens when a quarterback is inserted in the Heisman Trophy race? They do a lot more things to add on to their Heisman Trophy case already. So, with him having over, 1,400 yards, 1 interception, and like 12 touchdowns, you have Dallas Daniels. Matter of fact, let me just say this. With Alabama State secondary, right? A lot of those players were there during the spring season and last year as well. So this secondary don't even know what they're facing, especially with Malachi Wyman being inserted into the mix fully now. You know what I'm saying? That they thought that they had to just worry about Willie Gaines and Dallas Daniels and Shane Hooks and Kevin Coleman. And now you got to worry about Malachi Wyman being inserted to the mix, which is probably one of their best receivers. But I don't know, man. Dallas Daniels looks really, really good. But he looks like a pro receiver. He looks really like he's open down there every play, especially if he's one-on-one. But I will say this though. Alabama State's secondary is pretty decent. And even though they kind of torched them last year or whatever, they are decent. I think Alabama State's defense as a whole, I think they're third in total they're third or fourth in total defense. They're third in scoring defense, and they're second in pass defense. Now, they only gave up 13 points twice. They gave up 25 points to PRAIRIE, but a lot of the points that they gave up was in due part of Alabama State's inadequateness to keep the ball, because they had a lot of turnovers in that game. So their turnovers is what made PRAIRIE score them 25 points. And then they gave up 13 points last week to Texas Southern. So outside of the UCLA game, this Alabama State defense did a good job with keeping teams out the end zone. But they're going up against a totally different monster. And they're going up against a Jackson State team that scores 48 points a game and gives up less than 10 points a game. First in everything, this team is number 7 in the country, and they're coming for blood. And I know what Coach Prime already told them. Look, if you heard his press conference, you already know that they are going to have his team ready. And in terms of Alabama State's offense, Demetrius Davis, let's speak about him for a minute. Outside of the Howard game, he hasn't really been so effective. He had 3 turnovers against PRAIRIE just by himself. He threw 1 interception and he fumbled the ball twice. And one of those was just off the snap. And then he only scored 16 points against Texas Southern. And a few of those points came in the fourth quarter. They had to make a comeback in the fourth quarter when they only scored 7 points, or 6 points actually. And this is only gonna be his 4th game of his college career, and so he's still trying to get acclimated with the offense, I believe. And the receivers are gonna have to do a good job of getting open against a secondary that plays man coverage the majority of the time. And not to mention that Nugget was there during the spring season, and Aubrey Miller. So this is going to be their first time this is going to be their second time playing in Alabama State. So they know what it felt like to lose there. So I know they're probably telling them that it's payback. Look, I know, and look, I'm not speaking about last year when they played Alabama State and Jackson State. I'm talking about avenging their loss when they played in the spring season in Alabama State. But yeah, this Jackson State defense are really gonna come out for blood in this game. And if we're speaking about the Demetrius Davis still trying to get acclimated with the offense, still trying to make himself feel comfortable, let me just say this. Jackson State made every quarterback they played so far not themselves. With Musa being a senior, he went up against a few. Jackson State went up against a few guys, against a few quarterbacks that were upperclassmen, and we're talking about a freshman quarterback that is playing in his 4th game, his 4th college game. It could get dark for Alabama State if they're not careful. Now, I'm not going to say that Jackson State is going to blow them out, because I'm going to say that Jackson State tends to play down to their competition a lot of times. They tend to do that in the first half. and then in the second half is when they turn up. But this could be different. They could jump out on Alabama State out the gate because I think Coach Prime instilled that in them. And they know what to expect. And I'm pretty sure Coach Prime showed them that picture that Alabama State put up. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see for sure. Now, of course, I have Jackson State winning this game. Ain't no doubt about that. Now, I am going to Alabama State. Before I move on to the next team or to the next game, let me say this: Alabama State, if y'all lay down and die, or if y'all lay down and let them run over y'all with no fight, because I'm gonna tell you this, Jackson State is going to throw the ball even in the third or fourth quarter if they're up. Even if they're up, because I think this is going to be a real statement game for Jackson State. And especially for Shedeur Sanders, who wants to add to his Heisman Trophy case. Like, he wants to do that. So, I won't be surprised if we see 40 or 50 pass attempts. I would not be surprised. You know? So, but I believe they're going to keep it in the game plan, but this is going to be different. I don't know who Keenan Isaac is going to be guarding because that is their best cover corner, but you have Malachi Wyman coming back. Like, look, this secondary ain't went up against this receiving core yet. Like, I know what they saw last year, but this is a totally different offense and a totally different receiving core. So I don't know what Alabama State, what they think they're gonna get, but this ain't even the same team. It ain't gonna be the same offensive lineman that they're going up against. So it's gonna be very different. But I have Jackson State. I have Jackson State of 55-14. 55-14. And that's saying a lot because they could try and go past that. But I have it 55-14. You know, but I do think, you know, hopefully it's a good game. Hopefully Alabama State can come out this game looking like something. So we'll see. All right, man. Next game, man, we have Southern versus PRAIRIE A&M. Now, both these teams are very evenly matched. And before I get into that, man, this is the return of Coach Eric Dooley and Jason Dumars. So that I wonder how those two are gonna feel walking into PRAIRIE and just seeing his former teammates, how they're gonna receive him. I wonder how that's gonna go. You know, but both these teams are very evenly matched, like I said. Both teams can run the ball very well. Matter of fact, there's only 3 teams that average over 200 yards rushing the game, and it's ALCORN, Southern, and PRAIRIE. So we're going to see a whole lot of running. The time of possession, we're going to find out who wins that. Both teams can play defense very well. Now, last week, I think that it was Jason Dumars' first game, I believe, first game healthy, and he looked really good. As a matter of fact, he won Defensive Player of the Week. So you can tell how much of a difference he makes in that Southern defense. And with this team, with that defense being 100% healthy, especially with Trey Lane, who has had a real good season so far, and alongside Jordan Lewis, that front seven is that much dangerous, especially with Dumars being inserted into the lineup, because Pine Bluff couldn't really do a thing at all. The second leading rusher in the SWAC had -7 yards. So you can tell how much of a difference Jason makes. Now, with this game, you know, both quarterbacks are top 10 in the SWAC in rushing. And as a matter of fact, Bashawn McCray is top 5 in rushing. Leads his team in rushing, so which is kind of crazy for your quarterback to be top 5 in rushing and leading your team. So, but in order for Southern to win this game, Bashawn is going to have to throw the ball just as well as he did last week. I think he had over 250 yards passing with 4 touchdowns, and he ran the ball pretty well. But with PRAIRIE, I think, is top 3 in rush defense. They give up less than 160 yards a game in rushing. So this game is going to be very, 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 very interesting. But with Conley, though, PRAIRIE is going to have a good game throwing the ball, because I think with this game, is going to come down to which quarterback can make the throws at the end. Because I think we know that both of these teams can run the ball, not so much pass the ball very well. Especially with PRAIRIE. PRAIRIE is at the bottom when it comes to passing. So, in order for this game to be won, one of these quarterbacks are going to have to be able to throw the ball very well. And with the schedule, the way it looks, if PRAIRIE wins this game, not only are they 4-0 in the conference, but they're pretty much in cruise control the rest of the way. With PRAIRIE, their last 4 conference games, they have BETHUNE-COOKMAN, a 1-win BETHUNE-COOKMAN team. They still have ALCORN State, in which that will be their toughest matchup. They have an Arkansas Pine Bluff, who still has no conference win, and they have a Valley State team who has no win yet. So the 3 out of their last 4 conference games are pretty much all winnable games, especially with BETHUNE-COOKMAN. They have them at their homecoming, at homecoming. So now, if we take a look at Southern's last 5 conference games, they have Alcorn State the following week. Then, of course, they have Lynchburg, so which they'll win that game. Then they play Jackson State, they play FAMU, they play Valley State, and they play Grambling. Now, even though Grambling State ain't the team that I thought they would be, it's still the Bayou Classic. Like, no matter how good or bad the teams are, when it comes to the Bayou Classic, it's very evenly matched. So it really don't matter what the record is. Now, outside of the spring season, I thought that was probably the most lopsided Bayou Classic game that I've probably ever seen. And I don't think that's happening no time soon. That's not happening no time soon. I don't know what that was in the spring season. But, yeah, so I think this game is really, really important to Southern. And I think Southern really needs this, because they really want to make it as easy as possible, or as tough as possible, because they still got to get past Alcorn, and they still got to get past Jackson State, and they're playing at FAMU. So this game is going to be this game is going to be very interesting, because Southern needs this. But since they're playing at PRAIRIE, I have Southern winning this game. I do. I have Southern winning this game, and especially with the insert of Jason Dumars, I think that was so effective that I think is going to take away the focus, because Trey Lang is going to be singled, and there's going to be no double team required for Jordan Lewis, because I think Jason is going to be required to have double team. So I think with the middle going to be occupied, the outside guys with Trey and Lewis are going to be so lethal. I think the front seven is going to take care of business. And I think Bashawn McCray is going to do enough for Southern to win this game. So for that, I got Southern. I have Southern winning. I have it being 28-21. And I think Southern pulls it out. But I think this is going to be a really good game. But both quarterbacks are going to have to show up in this game. Because I think the team that wins is going to require for the quarterback to show up. And for that, I have Southern winning. All right, next game. We have Alabama A&M versus Grambling. Now, let me start right off the bat with Grambling. I was wrong about them. I thought that they were going to be a lot better so far this year, especially at this point of the season. Defensively, Grambling State has been bad. They give up 43 points a game, and the 43 points a game comes from them having Jackson State put up 66 and them giving up 58. The last 3 games, just Grambling State, just in their last 3 games, they've given up 66, 36, and 34. I don't know what I'm seeing from this Grambling State team, because this is not the same Grambling from last year. And they have the majority of the players from last year on this team. They were top 3 in scoring defense with this same team. So I don't know what's going on, but they don't look good defensively. Offensively, I think it's time for a quarterback change. And Julian Calvez played decent when being inserted in the second half. He played decent. If you saw his last, his 2 scoring drives, it was him throwing the ball down the field along with, smart runs and with the running backs helping them out. I think it could be time for a quarterback change. Who knows? But I think I don't know if Maurice Washington is coming back or not, because I know he's been gone the last 2 games. I don't know if it's from, it might have been, I think they said from like a head injury or something, concussion or neck or whatever. I don't know. But he's been gone for the last 2 weeks. I did hear that Hugh Jackson said that he may be coming back this week. Who knows? But with Alabama A&M, they got a win last week, their first conference win against Bethune-Cookman. The offense played very well. Langsford threw for over 200 yards with 3 touchdowns. And Donovan Eaglin, his first start this season, he rushes for 190 yards and 3 total touchdowns. What a coincidence. So, but defensively though, Alabama A&M has given up at least 25 points in every game so far. So this is a very breakable defense. Matter of fact, both of these defenses are not very good. So we're gonna find out which offense or which defense shows up. Honestly, because now I know both offenses can score. Grambling State has the firepower on offense. I just believe that the quarterback situation has been an issue, and it's been an issue before the season started. Honestly, that's why, and that's why I believe that even after the spring season, coach went out and got a few more quarterbacks because he wasn't a believer in the quarterback that he had. So, hopefully, I think they should give Chavez a look this week just to see. You know what I'm saying? Just to see. Just put them out there and just find out what happens with a full game prep of Chavez being inserted in the starting lineup. I think they should do that. But I don't know which team gonna show up for Grambling. I don't know what team gonna show up for Alabama A&M. I think Alabama A&M is at home, and for that, I do have. Oh man, I want to say Grambling State, but I don't know which quarterback is playing. I don't know who's playing. So, since Alabama A&M is at home, I'm going for Alabama A&M. I think A&M is going to win this game. I think a lot of points are going to be scored here. And I'm going to say A&M wins 35-31. 35-31 in a close game. But I do believe that this game, it could be sloppy. It could be high scoring. Who knows? But I just hope at least one of these defenses shows up. But I'm not confident in this pick because as much as I believe Grambling State would win, I don't think they would. I don't know. But I have a feeling that Alabama A&M is going to win this game. And it's just not a good look for Grambling right now, especially with the G being taken from them in the last two games and them playing like they don't deserve the G. It's been ugly, so we're going to find out what happens, man. But yeah, I have Alabama A&M winning this game. All right, next up, we have Texas Southern versus Arkansas Pine Bluff. Now, both these teams gives up over 450 yards a game. I think with Pine Bluff, they give up 41 points a game. And with Texas Southern, they give up 23 points a game. So even though Texas Southern gives up a lot of yards, they don't give up a lot of points. Which they're the typical bend but don't break kind of defense. But with Texas Southern, offensively, they didn't look good last week. Andrew Body didn't really have a good game. It's been a few instances this season where he started off slow. I think the first game of the season, he didn't play well, but it was also due to the weather, so you kind of really can't kill him for that. You can't kill him for that. But last week, he didn't have a good game last week. Neither quarterback. Matter of fact, Skylar Perry didn't even play last week. I don't know what for. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got injured during the week before. I don't know if he got injured, but both teams offensively didn't look good. Pine Bluff defensively looked really bad. And I don't know if Andrew Body in the offense was looking at that and kind of sovereign over Pine Bluff, but I told y'all, I was telling people that Pine Bluff's first two games were against teams that they should have beaten. And so me looking at their stats from their first 2 weeks, I wasn't looking at that because I didn't think those counted. I wasn't looking at that because I didn't care about that. Pine Bluff is just not a good team this year. They're not. They can run the ball well. Kenyon Britton is a real good running back. He got completely shut down last week. But of course you could, involve that with the return of Jason, on that front seven. But the Pine Bluff, they didn't run the ball well. They had a lot of yards on in the air, but the completion percentage was way off. So I gotta Texas Southern winning this game. It's not a lot to say here because I don't really know what Pine Bluff is gonna do to stop Andrew Body. Both defenses are not very good. Even though I think Texas Southern's defense is a little better because they don't give up a lot of points. But, oh man, it could be curtains for Pine Bluff. But we're going to see. We're going to hope that Pine Bluff can make this a good game. Hopefully, Skylar Perry comes back and plays, but I don't know. But I have Texas Southern winning this game 35-14. 35-14. All right, next up, we have FAMU versus South Carolina State. Now, let's start with FAMU for a minute. After Jackson State, just like last year, FAMU had looked pretty good. Now, I was kind of questioning that game versus Albany State. So that was a lot closer than what it should have been. But after that game, they had a bye week, and ever since then, they've scored over 30 points in their last 2 games. Xavier Smith looks just as good as ever. He leads the SWAC. He has the Triple Crown so far. He leads the SWAC in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. And matter of fact, the second closest receiver to him, Dallas Daniels, he's second in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. So the Triple Crown, I don't know, he's close to it. But Jeremy Musa has looked good so far this year. He's thrown for 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, and I think 3 interceptions, I believe. So Jeremy Musa has been good. So this FAMU offense has been clicking for quite some time now, ever since the Jackson State game. So FAMU's offense has been looking pretty good. They still don't have a running game. They still don't run the ball a lot because they do rely on the quarterback and Xavier Smith. Even though I think Sheree had been playing well too, though. As a matter of fact, the second closest receiver on his team has 18 catches. Xavier Smith has 43. So you know who's gonna be getting the ball. And for South Carolina State, before I get to that, the matchup for this receiver DB, I do want to see Zion Keith versus Xavier Smith. Zion Keith has been really, really good for South Carolina State so far. He's been really good. I was trying to find out when they played against Bethune-Cookman. I was trying to find out who he was, who was breaking up all them pass coverages and got the interception. So I was trying to find out who he was, and it's Zion Keith. And he had an interception last week versus South Carolina as well. So now I'm locked into Zion. Now I'm locked in on him. So now him versus Xavier Smith, that's going to be a pretty good matchup. I don't know if he's going to have him follow, but I think he should. That's going to be a good one. South Carolina State. I don't know who's going to start at quarterback. But Tyrese Nick had a real good spark for South Carolina State last week. He rushed for almost 100 yards. He had 95 yards and he scored. Matter of fact, he started the second half and scored on their first drive of the second half. And he had another touchdown in the first half called back. So he looked good for South Carolina State. Now, I don't know who they're going to start at quarterback because Corey Fields looked god-awful last week. He looked awful. So I don't know what's going to happen with that situation. But if South Carolina State is going to win this game, Shaq Davis is going to have to be more involved. Right? He only has 12 catches so far this year in 4 or 5 games. That's not enough. Right? They need to throw him the ball a lot more, even if it's good coverage. Because with him is that He can win his one-on-one battles. He knows how to get up on the 50-50 balls. Like Shaq Davis can really be their offense if they really force the ball to him. Now, Kendall Flowers has been good for him as well. BJ Davis has been looking like her SWAC or her MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. BJ Davis has been looking really, really good. So, in order for South Carolina State to win this game, they're going to have to shut down FAMU's passing offense. They're going to have to, preferably find a way to shut down Xavier Smith. Because every time he gets because he's going to get about 12 to 13 targets, especially in this game. Because they're not going to be able to run the ball even if they wanted to. Because South Carolina State's front seven is really, really good. They are really good. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup to see what they do to stop Xavier Smith. But this is not last year. I know what happened last year. I think FAMU won 35-7. It's not that. It is not going to be that. And as a matter of fact, I have South Carolina State winning this game. And I have them winning a close battle, by the way. I think it's going to be close. I have it being 28-24. I have it 28-24. To me, I think it matters who starts at quarterback because Tyrese Nick looked really good. If Corey Field starts, I think they'll still win. I don't think they'll score as many points, though. But I do have South Carolina State winning 28-24, but I think it's going to be a real good game. All right, next up, we have ALCORN versus Mississippi Valley State. Now, ALCORN is coming off their bye week, and they are going on the road to play Valley State. Now, this should be a fairly easy game for ALCORN. Valley State is still looking for their first win. Jarvion Howard has had a monster season so far. Leads the SWAC in rushing. Matter of fact, he's over 150 yards away from the second place, from the person who's in second place. He had a monster game against Pine Bluff, their last game. Now, what happens if the rushing game don't work? If the rushing game don't work, I think Aaron Allen could do the job. He hasn't really thrown them into dangerous territories, but he was never needed to win the two games that they won. It wasn't needed. He hasn't thrown for over 200 yards yet, but it hasn't been necessary. They're one of the three teams who rushes the ball over 200 yards a game. So their rushing attack has definitely been lethal with Howard and Nico Duffy. So, but I think if ALCORN has to throw the ball, I think they could do it. Aaron Allen has not been bad so far this year because his services hasn't been called upon to be really needed. He threw the ball for less than 100 yards against Pine Bluff. But you saw how many rushing yards that they had. So Aaron Allen has not played bad. I think what he threw, he has so far, he has over 460 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So he's been decent, so he's been a game manager so far. But with Valley State, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Valley State has not been good. They have not been good so far this year. Offensively or defensively, they have not been good. Ja'Cory Rankin he's been good for him. Caleb Johnson, he's been shut down, so far for the better part of the year. Outside of a few good runs here and there, but for the most part, I mean, not the season that he had last year, but Jacoby Rankin has been really their only bright spot on offense. But I have Alcorn winning this game fairly easy. Hopefully they can show a fight because their last two games, it's been blowouts. They got blown out the last two games. So we're gonna see what happens. But I have Alcorn State winning this game fairly easy. I have them winning. I'm gonna say 28-14. I'm gonna say 28-14, and I'm gonna make it respectable. But this Valley State team is not the same team from last year, defensively. But I have Alcorn winning 28-14. All right, and last game we're gonna go over, man. We got Bethune-Cookman versus Tennessee State. Now, I couldn't find the game for Tennessee State. I couldn't find it. But I do want to speak about that for a little bit. And they tricked me. Tennessee State really, really tricked me this year. They tricked me. You have a good game versus Eastern Washington. They're ranked in the top 20 in the country. Defensively, you have a good game. You gave up one touchdown in the fourth quarter against Jackson State. You played Middle Tennessee. Okay, that happens. Then you get to Lane College. Draylon Ellis don't play. I guess he got hurt during the game. Devin Sterling doesn't play. And they lose at home to Lane College in overtime. Lane College, and matter of fact, I don't know if Lane College must be good. I must not have been keeping up with Lane College. They must be good because they put up 40 the first week of the season. They put up 40 against Pine Bluff, but I'm not a believer in Pine Bluff anyway, so I really didn't think nothing of it. But then they turn around and they go on the road and beat Tennessee State. Now I gotta keep up. Now I gotta keep up what Lane College is doing because now they got me wondering. But they lose at home to a Division II rival. Well, a Division II team is not a rival because they beat them the first 9 times. It just so happened to be this time they lost. But now I don't see Eddie George is not on the hot seat. I don't want that to be out there. I don't think Eddie George is on the hot seat. I don't think that. But it is looking nasty. And then they're playing Ohio. I think they're playing Notre Dame next year. So we're going to see what happens with that. But Bethune-Cookman, they played well last week. They played good enough to win last week. Jalen Jones looked good. Quayshawn Bird looked good. Offensively, they looked good. But defensively, though, I don't like what I'm seeing out of them. I don't know, but defensively, I don't like what I'm seeing out of Bethune. But I do believe that if Bethune-Cookman is going to win this game, and especially with the year that Tennessee State is having, because they tricked me. Because the first 2 games, they look like a team that could do something when they get in the conference play. And mind you, they still haven't played a conference game yet. So anything can happen with that team. I don't know how long Draylon is out for, because I know he got hurt in that Middle Tennessee game. But Tennessee State is at home again. Bethune-Cookman is on the roll. If Draylon Ellis plays, I have Tennessee State winning. If he doesn't play, then I think Bethune-Cookman is going to win. I'm gonna assume that Ellis isn't gonna play, so I'm gonna assume that Bethune-Cookman is gonna win this game. I think Jalen Jones could do some good things, you know, and for that reason, I have Bethune-Cookman winning. I'm gonna say 24-21. I'm gonna say 24-21. I have it being a close game. I don't know how much energy Tennessee State is gonna have, especially with them losing to a Division II team at home in overtime. So we're gonna see what happens with that, man. But I have Bethune-Cookman winning this game. But I'm excited for these games. As a matter of fact, it's gonna be interesting because my mom is gonna be here this weekend. We're going to Rhode Island for my niece's birthday party. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to catch the early games. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to watch the Jackson State game because I'll be at my brother's house for my niece's birthday party. So I don't know what that's gonna be about, but I'm excited for these games. But I'm even more excited for my mom to be here. So if I don't catch any of the games, I'll hope to catch them when I react to them. But y'all have a good weekend, man. You know, hopefully. Oh, I have a few videos that I'm gonna be dropping on Friday. I want to react to that Alabama State and Jackson State game from the spring season, and there's a few other videos that I want to drop. But you know, we'll see, man. But we'll see what happens, man. But I'm excited for these games this week. I'm excited for them.